Namo tassa bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhassa. Welcome back to the 18th Dhamma Q&A session. We've been discussing about different nidanas, different links of the Patisamuppada for the past couple of weeks. And today we're supposed to talk about, discuss about the fifth nidana, link called saළāyatana. Now, saළāyatana is what we call by 6 sense bases. Now, at the beginning of this discussion, I wanted to share with you something really interesting. You may have probably not looked at this aspect of the saළāyatanas, 6 sense bases. How many of you have heard about the Pancha Indriya, which is called 5 sense faculties, or Shadindriya, 6 sense faculties, and the 6 saළāyatanas, right? 6 bases. So what is the difference between Indriya and saළāyatana? What is the primary difference between a sense faculty and a sense base? So the difference can be given in a couple ways. The first thing that we can see in a kind of a contrast between these two is, now we all have, including arahants, we all have the 6 sense faculties. Chakku, which means eye; sota, which means ears, eyes, ears; and then gahana, which means nose; jivha, which means tongue; then kaya, that means body; mano, which means the mind. Now, this is a primary requirement for any sentient being to have until they die. But ayatana is the secondary level of the sense faculty. Now, most often it is said that arahants do not have the ayatanas very much. Now, they do not have the saළāyatanas. Only the unenlightened beings carry the ayatanas. Now, for example, now let's I would say do this kind of a contrast here. Now, the moment you see an object, you utilize your sense faculties. But once you caught up by the particular sense faculty, once you use that, once that particular sense faculty is being used by you, then the rest of the experience goes on to the ayatanas. That is why we have the ayatanas. Now, in many suttas, we can see khandanam patubhavu, ayatananam patilabu. Now, for those beings who create sankharas, which has defilements, right? They are developing their ayatanas. Now, that is why when you see the 37, bojjhangas, bodhipakkhya dhammas, you say them as by bodhipakkhya dhammas. So, enlightening factors, the 37 factors of enlightenment, you can see ayatana. You can only see indriya, which means the arahants do not develop, do not promote ayatanas. So that means ayatana is kind of a unenlightened version of the indriya. Okay, it is mostly an unenlightened version of the indriyas. So, but indriya is common to everyone. Okay. True indriyas, true eye, true ears, nose, tongue, body, mind, we can exist. But when we exist through this 6 sense faculties, indriyas, shadindriyas, Then what happens to us? We are developing ayatanas until we attain nibbana, until we become enlightened beings. Now you can see a clear difference between Indriya and ayatanas. I would say saḷāyatanas, so 6 sense faculties, and the 6 ayatanas, saḷāyatanas. So saḷāyatana, 6 sense bases, which is the 5th link that we have until we attain nibbana, is something really interesting. Now, another meaning that we can see about the 6 sense bases is this could mean the sensitive part of the sense faculty. Now, again, we can go back to Abhidhamma. Now, in Abhidhamma, it says it is not the eye that can take an image. It is not the ears that can take the sounds. It is the sensitive part of the eye. It is the sensitive part of the ears. It is the sensitive part of the nose. It is the sensitive part of the tongue. It is the sensitive part of the body. It is a sensitive part of the mind that can take objects. That means in all these sense faculties, there's a sensitive part. We call it pasadarupa in Abhidhamma. Pasadarupa. Now in Sutta Pitaka, we don't see that much. So pasadarupa is the place where the impingement, or the object impingement, can process. So when there is an object and there is your eye as a sense faculty, how does this combine together? There is something called avajjana chitta, advertent thought. So that is which combines these two together, sense faculty and then the particular object. So what I was trying to tell you is that another layer of the meaning between the sense faculty and the ayatanas is that ayatana represent the sensitive part of the sense faculty. Now there are 2 major meanings. The first one is Indriyas, I would say sense faculties are common to everyone. But ayatanas are specifically for the unenlightened beings. Arahants do not promote, develop ayatanas. Now, because they don't have a sense base like I, they don't develop. Now, actually, going beyond the sensory experience of Indriya, what an unenlightened being does with the sense basis is that they promote defilement, they promote sankharas, which arahants do not, which the enlightened beings do not. Okay, that's kind of a primary difference. Okay. Let's move on, and Dhamma folks, if you have any questions, please type in. I will take a look while I am talking. Okay, back to the discussion. Now, another thing that we can find to sort of prove the difference between sense faculty and what you call ayatana is that ayatana is the place where people have the delight and the drawback and the renunciation, asada adino, this nissarana. We don't bring that analysis towards the sense faculty. Only the ayatanas are dealing with the asada adino nissarana, because people are developing ayatanas to experience the defiled, tainted level of the whatever objects. Okay. Now in the West, they don't take the mind as a 6th sense. They only take the 5 senses. But the Buddha says mind is a part of the sensory experience. You can't separate that out, because all these sensory experiences, they are being processed by the mind. This is what we learn from the Chitta Viti in the Abhidhamma, right? Whenever you take an object, either towards the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, all those objects, they have to go through the mind at the end. So that means you can separate that out from the mind. So you have to think that mind is a part of this sensory experience. Okay, so let's first take a look at what is saḷāyatana in the Paticca Samuppada context. Now, saḷāyatana, the six sense bases, can be seen in 1,000 places in the Sutta Pitaka. But we are specifically looking at the saḷāyatana, six sense bases, in the Paticca Samuppada context. It is our main plan today. Now, the fifth link, nidana, of the Paticca is the six sense bases, or in other words, saḷāyatana. Now, let's take a look at what the Vibhanga Sutta, I guess this is Samyutta Nikaya 12.2, says about saḷāyatana. Katamancha bhikkhave saḷāyatanam. What is saḷāyatana? Chakkāyatanam, sotāyatanam, gānāyatanam, jivhāyatanam, kāyāyatanam, manāyatanam, idam bucchati bhikkhave saḷāyatana. Okay, now saḷāyatana means there are six sense bases. What are they? The sensitivity of eye, that is chakkāyatana. It is not the sense faculty called eye. Sensitivity of that sense faculty. Not that this is the primary difference. Now, in the sense faculty, it is just a sense faculty, but it is not the sensitive part of the sensitive part of the sense faculty. So, Indriya is just the sense faculty. The sensitive part of the sense faculty is ayatana. Now, here, sensitive part of the eye, that is chakkāyatana. Sensitive part of the, I would say sensitivity of eye, that is chakkāyatana. Sensitivity of ear, sotāyatana. Sensitivity of nose, ghānāyatana. Sensitivity of tongue, jivhāyatana. Sensitivity of the body, kāyāyatana. Sensitivity of the mind, manāyatana. Makes sense? So, sensitive part of the sense faculty is ayatana. That is why a lot of people develop ayatanas to be a place of defilement, sankharas. Okay, now let's see what are the main context of the saḷāyatanas. Now, we may go into different suttas as well, because otherwise we can't understand. Now, when you say ayatanas, it is not only 6. There are 12 ayatanas. But don't take it as 12 though. Why is it? Because the other 6, they are the objects of the ayatanas. Now, they are the objects of the sensitive part of the sense faculty. I would say rupa ayatana, saddha ayatana, gandha ayatana. Rupa ayatana, saddha ayatana, gandha ayatana, what do you call rasa ayatana, pottabba ayatana, dhamma ayatana. So these are the objects of the 6 sense bases. Because of that, even though you can see they are in a number called 12, but we don't take it as 12 because we know they are part of these 6. So that's why it is said they are as 6 sense bases, saḷāyatana. So one of the context of saḷāyatana is the what you call by the 12 parts of the saḷāyatana. So we could say, even though we can see they are being 12, but there is only 6. Now let's take a look at our sutta. Now we call the first, I would say, the 6 sense bases to be somatic. They are kind of what you call more corporeal, I would say, more physical. Okay, internal sense bases and the external sense bases. Now, how the saḷāyatanas arisen? On what basis are the saḷāyatana's six sense bases arisen? It is because of the namarupa, which we discussed last week. Namarupa pacha saḷāyatana. But what is not seen in the namarupa, mind and matter? Now, do we see specific sense bases in the namarupa? No, we don't see them. We only see the abstract levels of the consciousness called vedana, sanya, chetana, vedana, sanya, phassa, manasikara, and chetana. This is the abstract part, but the rupa part only says it is a part. It is a combination of both mahabhuta rupa, four great essentials, patavi, apo, tejo, vayu, and the upadaya rupas, the dependable rupas based on the four great essentials. Now we don't see specific internal, external basis, right? Because we need sense basis to get the sensorial experience, right? Or sensory experience. This is why we are receiving the six sense bases. Now, this is very interesting. Now, this is why it was not given as six sense faculties. It was given as six sense bases, ayatanas, not six indriyas, six ayatanas, right? Okay. Now, there's a sutta called Chakka Sutta. Chakka Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 148. Now it says, actually it deals with deals with the six sex test, which means there are six things that we always talk about in most of the suttas. Six sense organs, they are the six what you call indriyas. Six sense objects, the objects. Six sense specific types of consciousness. Six sense specific types of contact, which means different contacts. Six sense specific types of sensation, and six sense specific types of craving, and are examined and found to be empty of self. Now, this is the problem. This is what the Buddhism is aiming at, trying to understand. These are the primary elements. We call them dhatu as well, and then we should not see them as being real, especially when it comes to a self. There is no self. This is what we had to understand. And in another sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 35.23, call it Sabba, the all, the Buddha says, there is no all outside of the six pairs of sense bases. Okay. Now, actually, the all is nothing but the six sense bases. Now, it's very interesting. Now we talk about there is an outside world, there is this and that, but apart from these six, there is no world. There is nothing that we can talk about, because we are developing eye as a world, ear as a world, then nose as a world, then tongue as a world, body as a world, mind as a big world, right? As a process plays of all these sense bases. Now, if I ask you, what is your world? You might say, my world is my family, my job, my whatever. But all that is a part of the six sense bases. This is why the Buddha says, your world, your everything is a part of the six senses, because this is where you are receiving and sending all this information. Okay. Okay, how did the Buddha see these internal and external ayatanas? Okay, that's a very good question. Now, in one of the suttas called Asi Visa Sutta, Buddha clearly mentions a difference. I would say I would say he is giving a metaphor so that we can understand what do you call the internal sense basis and the external sense basis. Saḷāyatanas called, some places we understand it by saḷāyatana, but normally we say six sense basis because the other six, they are part of the six sense basis. That's why we call it saḷāyatana. Now Buddha gave a very wonderful metaphor to understand these two, the connection between these two. So Asi Visa means vipers, snakes. The Buddha likens the internal sense basis, say Chakkāyatana, Sotāyatana, Gānāyatana, Jivhāyatana, Kāyāyatana, and Manāyatana to an empty village, right? So he what do you call likens. He kind of likens all these six sense bases to be an empty village. So Chakkāyatana has no issue; it is empty. So now the thing is that so even because we have the sense faculties, we are developing the sensitivity of the eye. It's true, but still the sensitivity of the eye is empty. I mean, it's still okay. But the problem is the external sense bases, they come into contact with the internal six sense bases. That is where the problems arise. This is why the Buddha says six internal sense bases, somatic sense bases, they are still okay. They are what you call by an empty village. There are nobody actually. There's nobody. And the external sense bases are likened to a village plundering bandits, thieves. Now the problem is, who are the bandits? Village plundering bandits. They are the external sense bases, which means Rūpāyatana, Saddhāyatana, Gandhāyatana, Rasāyatana, Pottabhāyatana, then Dhammayatana. What is Rūpāyatana? Rūpāyatana means sensitivity of image. Saddhāyatana means sensitivity of sound. Gandhāyatana means sensitivity of smell. Rasāyatana means sensitivity of taste. Pottabhāyatana means sensitivity of the contact. Dhammayatana means sensitivity of the mind. So these are actually more dangerous than the six sense bases, saḷāyatanas, because they are attacking the internal six sense bases, the somatic six sense bases actually. So the village is empty, but those six, what do you call, external sense bases, they are attacking the internal sense bases. That's a very interesting metaphor, right? So the Buddha characterizes the empty sense bases as being attacked by agreeable and disagreeable sense objects. I would say pleasure and pain, agreeable and disagreeable sense objects. So they are none other than the objects of the sense bases. Now let me read the Pali. Chora gama gatakatiko bhikkhave channeta bahiranang ayatananang adivachanang. So ayatana, that is the word for sense base. But when you say bahira means external. So bahira ayatanas are to be considered as the village plundering thieves, bandits. Chakku bhikkhave hanyati manapa manapesu rupesu. So these bandits, external, I would say, rupas. Okay, so the agreeable and disagreeable rupas, images, they attack the the first internal sense base, say the sensitivity of the eye, called saḻāyatana, and then the both agreeable and disagreeable, which means the what you call pleasant rupa or unpleasant rupa. They all are thieves, I would say, village plundering bandits. They attack. Sotang hanyati manapa manapesu saddhesu. Okay. So in the same way, what you call the sound, whatever the agreeable or disagreeable sound, being a village plundering bandit, attacks the sense base called sensitivity of the, we call it saḻāyatana, the internal sense base that is relevant to the particular object. In the same way, all the objects, I would say the external sense bases, they are attacking the internal sense bases. That is what you have to understand here. So what are we supposed to do? See, once again, I can read for you. The eye is attacked by agreeable and disagreeable forms. So the eye is the empty village, and the agreeable and disagreeable forms are bandits, village plundering bandits. The ear is attacked by agreeable and disagreeable sounds. The nose is attacked by agreeable and disagreeable aromas. The tongue is attacked by agreeable and disagreeable flavors. The body is attacked by agreeable and disagreeable tactile sensations. The intellect is attacked by agreeable and disagreeable ideas, right? So the object part, I would say the external sense bases, they are always attacking the internal sense bases in a way how village plundering bandits attack an empty village. Okay, so this is what you call Asi Visa Sutta Samyutta Nikaya 35.197. Just give it a look if you have time. But then what the Buddha suggested us to do, this is what he asked us to do. Sunyo gamotiko bhikkave channetan ajjattikanang ayatananang adivachana. Chakkuto chepi nang bhikkave pandito vyatto medhavi upaparikkati rittakanyeva khayati tuchchakanyeva khayati sunyakanyeva khayati. Very interesting. Now this is a wise person, how a wise person responds to these village plundering attackers. I would say village plundering bandits. Now in real sense, the objects that are attacking internal sense bases. The empty village stands for the 6 internal sense media. If a wise, competent, intelligent person examines them from the point of view of the eye, they appear abandoned, void and empty. So if you are a wise person, if you can really look at the what you call the reality of every object. Now let's say if it is an agreeable or disagreeable rupa image, if it is an agreeable or disagreeable sound, if it is an agreeable and disagreeable what you call smell, if it is an agreeable or disagreeable taste, if it is an agreeable or disagreeable what you call a thought, then if you can look at the reality of all these objects by putting them into anicca dukkha anatta, this is changing. This is not. This can be taken as being permanent. You think that all these objects are changing because of that change, because of the changes happening with the objects. Then we should not think that it is giving me the comfort, pleasure. In reality, you may have a little pleasure, but it is not lasting long, right? And at the same time, if you see, based on all these two changes and dissatisfaction, if you can understand, there can be taken an ownership Now, when people see a sight, I would say an image, a sight, sound, smell, taste, contact, and a thought, they think I can own it. I can own that. I can own these objects. If you don't have these ways of thinking, if you think that they all are subject to changes, anicca, they all are subject to dissatisfaction, dukkha, they all are subject to non-ownership. We can't take them as being us. That means you are a pandita, you are a sappurusha, you know how to tackle, how to deal with this thing. Then you are not letting the village plundering bandits to attack you. So these six are village plundering, what do you call, bandits. They are attacking your senses, right? Especially in here, six sense bases. This is one sutta where we can see what the Buddha talked about the six sense bases and how they are being attacked by the six objects. Let's see another sutta reference here. Another sutta that is in Samyutta Nikaya 35.191, Arhan Sariputta clarifies the actual suffering associated with six sense bases is not inherent to these. Arhan Sariputta clarifies that the actual suffering, dukkha, associated with sense organs, I would say Panchendriya, Shadindriya, and six sense objects, which means Panchakama or Shatkama, is not inherent to these sense bases, but is due to the fetters that arise when there is contact between a sense organ and sense object. Now this is a clear place to understand that sense organs and sense objects are still okay, but how do you take them into sense basis? There are fetters involved, associated. So that is why you will have a tough time to understand how I'm going to deal with the fetters, because the fetters are leading your sense faculties to get into sense basis, right? So that's one thing to understand. And in another sutta called Samyutta Nikaya 35.28, Aditya Pariyaya Sutta, it's called Fire Sermon. Now in that sutta, Buddha says, let me read this. Monks, the all is a flame. He said all is a six sense basis. What all is flame? The eye is a flame in fire. Forms are in fire, a flame. Consciousness at the eye is a flame in fire. Contact at the eye is a flame. And whatever there is that arises in dependence on contact at the eye experience as pleasure, pain, or neither pleasure nor pain, that too is a flame. A flame with that, a flame with the fire of passion, raga, the fire of aversion, dosa, the fire of delusion, moha, a flame, I tell you, with birth, aging, and death, with sorrows, lamentations, pains, distresses, and despairs. What can we learn from here? Now, when the Buddha says everything is in a flame, that is none other than these sensory experiential connections, which are part of the sensory experience. It could be six sense bases, or what do you call internal six sense bases and external six sense bases, plus all the primary elements of your sensory experience. They all are in fire. So that is what we have to understand from the Aditya Pariyaya Sutta. Let's pay our attention to other couple teachings about the saḷāyatana. Now, in the Samyutta Nikaya, one of the books of the Buddha's very philosophical teachings, we can see there is a particular section for the saḷāyatana. We call it saḷāyatana Samyutta. Now, in this Samyutta, the part of the Samyutta Nikaya deals with all the six sense bases based teachings. I selected a couple of the suttas to give you some insights. Patama Pubbha Sambodha Sutta. So some people call Patama Pubbe Sambodha Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 35.3. Now in this sutta, Buddha says, the Buddha did not claim to be awakened until he had fully understood the gratification, drawback, and escape regarding the 6 interior sense fields. Now, saḷāyatana is a big topic, because if the Buddha did not really understand the gratification, I would say asada, drawback means adinava, and escape means nissarana of the 6 interior sense field, which means the somatic 6 sense bases, which you call by saḷāyatana, then he would have never proclaimed that he got enlightened. So that means we really need to understand these 6 sense bases, because this is the primary level of getting channels of experience, epistemological, I would say, sensorial channels of experiences, right? Without saḷāyatanas, you won't have phassa, contact. You won't have any other tanha, any other upadana. It is because of the 6 sense bases you will be having all these issues. So I'm telling that it is something that you have to understand. I mean, you can't stop 6 sense bases arising within you, because that is how you become a being. But if you don't manage your 6 sense bases very well, then you are into suffering. That which means it will take you to different other defiled, tainted levels. So the first sutta I picked up was Patama Pubbe Sambodha Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 35.13, where in which the Buddha says that Buddha did not claim that he awakened, he became enlightened, until he had fully understood the 3 parts of any sensory experience based on the 6 interior sense fields. That means only by understanding the 6 sense bases, particularly on the asada, adinava, and nissarana perspectives, he could attain the Buddhahood. Another sutta, Patama Abhinanda Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 35.19. If you enjoy the saḷāyatanas, 6 interior sense fields, you enjoy suffering. Okay. Well, I mean, that's true, because if we enjoy any of these 6 sense bases extremely, I would say, you can have your karmas, I mean, your pleasures, but the problem is if you try to enjoy, if you try to gratify, indulge these 6 sense bases, saḷāyatanas, you are definitely into suffering, because you never know that they are changing. You never, because you don't believe that they are changing while you're experiencing them, right? You attach to people. You never believe that these people will go away from you. You always maintain the perception that they will be with us all the time. At the same time, you never believe that they will bring you suffering. Not in a way that they are going to be inimical to you, but they will go away from you, and that's it. And that will be the dissatisfaction. And what about the third part of the reality? No ownership. And you call them to be yours, your family, and your XYZ, but at the end, they are not yours. Not even they are not yours, but also they are not theirs as well, right? Because they have to leave their bodies and to be reborn, die and reborn. So that is why any extreme attachment, any greed towards 6 sense based saḷāyatanas bring definitely the suffering. Suffering is inevitable in that. So that is what we call by suffering is inevitable when you try to enjoy the saḷāyatanas. That is Patama Abhinandana Sutta 35.19, Samyutta Nikaya saḷāyatana Samyutta. Okay. Sabba Sutta 30, Samyutta Nikaya 35.23. I think we did that earlier. The all consist of the 6 interior and exterior sense field. What is the cause of saḷāyatana? Okay, I will be getting to your questions after I'm done with this. What is the cause of saḷāyatana? It is very clear. Nama Rupa is the cause of saḷāyatana. mind and matter, because you have a mind and matter, because you have the mind part, physical part, and the psychological part. That is why you must have six sense bases, salayat. Otherwise, you can't experience, anything sensory. You must have it. That is why you are having saළāyatana. So the cause of saළāyatana is namarupa. How to overcome the suffering that come from saළāyatana? Okay, that's a good part. Right now we sort of discuss what to do to look at the anicca dukkha anatta nature of any sensory experience, and don't try to possess, don't try to think that they are not changing. The objects of the six sense bases are changing, right? So if you can bring anicca dukkha anatta, impermanent nature, dissatisfying nature, no ownership nature to any mental phenomena, you are good. You are safe. But as long as you are not bringing them into any mental phenomena, any sensory experience, you are in trouble. So that's what we've been learning so far. But let's take a look at a couple methods. More precise methods to deal with the saළāyatanas, the fifth of the Parisampada. First method. The Buddha taught us that in order to escape the dangers of the sense bases, one must be able to apprehend the sense bases without defilements. Are we doing that? Are we apprehending our sense bases with defilements or without defilements? We don't know this defilement part. We just take all the agreeable, disagreeable forms, all the agreeable, disagreeable sounds, all the agreeable, disagreeable smells, all the agreeable, disagreeable taste, all the agreeable, disagreeable touch kind of stuff, all the agreeable, disagreeable thoughts. We don't ever bring this without defilements part, because we make them as defiled. We process them as being defiled, right? Now, for example, if you see an agreeable person, have you ever thought that this agreeable person, which came to your mind, which came to your eyes, subject to change, age-wise, person-wise, virtue-wise? That's a fact, right? But you don't think that this can change. This person will be changed because of that reality, right? Now, if you are someone who is consuming, who is having a particular taste every day, let's say you are enjoying a sort of meal for your supper or dinner every day. What if that you don't have it one day, but you think that you can have it for some time? Yes, you may be able to afford it because of your money and somebody can cook for you. But one day there may be a time you won't be able to have it for some reasons. Probably you can't find the food. Probably the grocery shop might not have it at that time. Probably it is out of season. Probably it is out of sale. So that particular situation, that's a good situation to understand. So can you understand it without defilements? Can you change your mind to buy something else right away? Or are you still struggling? Okay, I couldn't eat what I wanted to eat. I couldn't get what I wanted to buy. This is a normal phenomena, right? So the problem is, if you apprehend the sense basis without defilements, that is very interesting. That is very important. So how to apprehend your sense basis without defilement? So this is what the Buddha says. Sangyojana Pahana Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 35.54. The Buddha states that one abandons the fetters, Sangyojanas, when one knows and sees as they being impermanent anicca, which I just told you, dukkha anatta, right? If you can bring this understanding to each situation might be changed. It may vary. We never know what situation will arise, pop up. But you should be wise to bring anicca dukkha anatta into your situation. This is where you're going to be a sappurisa. This is the first method. Bring anicca dukkha anatta to your sensory experience. Okay. And another method is to foster the penetrative knowing and seeing and the resultant release from suffering. Now, this is something very popular, and we can see in Satipatthana Sutta, right? Majjhima Nikaya 10. Now, Buddha instructs us to meditate on the sense basis and the dependently arising fetters as follows. Now, let's take a look at what he says in English. O monks, does a monk live contemplating mental object? Dhammanupassana. Dhammanupassana means mental phenomena, right? Or mental properties. Of the 6 internal and the 6 external sense bases. Now, this is a fine place to understand what to do with the 6 sense bases and the 6 external, internal and external sense bases. Here, O bhikkhus, a monk understands the I and material form and the fetter that arises dependent on both I and forms. Now, I mean, don't limit it to a monk. Now, if you take a layperson like you, if you can understand the I as a sense base and what you call the form as the external sense base, the I is first the internal sense base, and the fetters that are arising because of the amalgamation, combination of the both. Because I have my piece of eyes and I can see the image, the person or whatever form, but do I ever understand the combination creates some taints, defilements? So if you can understand that this is going to happen, this is happening once the combination happens because of the impingement of the sense base, the internal sense base and the external sense base, and there is this combination creates what you call fetters. He understands how the arising of the non-arisen fetter comes to be. Now, suppose you understand you didn't have a fetter because of I and internal sense base called I, saḷāyatana, and the external sense base called rūpāyatana. You didn't have it before, but now this particular fetter is arising because you don't understand it. Okay. He also understands how the abandoning of the arisen fetter comes to be. Now, suppose you had it before. Of course, you may have had millions of trillions of time this experience. Now, if you had it before, definitely, then you know that this is what is happening now because I don't understand the fetter. Now, I have to understand it. And he understands how the non-arising in the future of the abandoned fetter comes to be. So if you are someone who has been seriously understanding the fetters that can arise because of the ignorance of what's happening after the combination of the both internal sense faculty and the external sense faculty, then you know that it is not arising back again in the future. And you understand that too, because you already understood it. It won't appear again. In a similar manner, he understands the ear and sounds, the organ of smell and odors, the organ of taste and flavors, the organ of touch and tactual subject, the consciousness and mental objects. Thus, he lives contemplating mental object, Dhammaramana, in mental objects, Dhammanupassana, and clings to naught in the world. So, the second way how we can deal with our saḷāyatanas is that trying to understand what happens next right after the sense faculty, I would say internal sense faculty, deals with the external sense faculty, and definitely there are fetters involved associated. So if we understand that earlier, before your eyes take the object, I would say the bandits, village plundering bandits attack your internal sense faculties, sense bases, then you understand fetters are likely to arise, and I don't let them arise. I know them. They haven't happened. They may have happened in me, but now they are not going to happen. They will not be happening, and I understand the mental phenomena as mental phenomena, and then I live my life without what you call greed and displeasure. This is what we call like, abhijja domanassa, right? So the second method is trying to understand what happens because of the amalgamation of the both internal sense faculty and the external sense faculty. Okay, so depending on the time, I would say one last question before I jump into the questions that you asked. What causes saḷāyatana? So what saḷāyatana causes to arise? Six sense bases. Six sense bases causes phassa, contact, to arise. Now, the problem is once the six sense bases are being attacked by the external sense bases, so internal sense bases are cakkāyatana, sotāyatana, gānāyatana, jivhāyatana, kāyāyatana, manāyatana. So they are being attacked by rūpāyatana, saddhāyatana, gandhāyatana, what do you call rasāyatana, pottabhāyatana, dhammāyatana. They are the attackers, village wandering bandits. So what happens once they attack the external sense bases, attack the internal sense bases, then what happens? Phassa arises. Because of that attacking, there is contact arises, right? So this is what we're going to be talking next Monday. Okay, what are the questions? Bhante, how do you see Papancha arising within the Indriya and Ayatana? Very good question. The sensory receptors are neutral by design. Yes, that's true. We are the one who are making them defiled and limited to physical capacity. It is rather a cognitive function to protect life perseverance. Can you please elaborate, Saḍu? Okay. Now, Papancha is the whole process of proliferation. Now, what happens at the end of this whole mismanagement of your sensory experience is Papancha. Okay, so you can't take it from the saḷāyatana context only. It is still happening. The process of proliferation is still happening. So this whole process until you get into upadana is Papancha, proliferation. This is what we see in the Madhupindika Sutta. And you are right, the sensory receptors are neutral. I mean, even the arahants, they have the sense faculties, right? But they are not having a lot of ayatanas. So they know how to take care of their senses. It is a cognitive process, but the problem is people don't understand how to separate out cognitive functions and the proliferation of the cognitive functions. So this is what we are raising awareness among you, so that you understand where to stop, where to take care your sensory experiences. So you have to take care of your sensory experiences once they become tainted because of the fetters. So they become tainted at the point of amalgamation of your both internal sense bases and the external sense bases. As long as they are not merging together, mixing up, they are okay. They are normal, any other cognitive functions. But once they are, mixed up, there is something happening. Quite often, this is what we call by the involvement of fetters. So fetters are involving at that point. That's where you got to be very careful. Then you have to bring immediately. Once you take objects, you have to immediately bring anicca dukkha anatta perspective towards that experience. Otherwise, it will give you a hard time. Bhante, is it correct, Samo, is it correct to say it is hard for householder to attain enlightenment since they are still engaging with householder, life? Nibbana is not a inhibition to anyone. you may have perhaps not known to these stories. During the Buddha's time, there were many devotees who were partially enlightened. Visakha, she was Sotapanna. She was a Sotapanna. There were many other devotees who who became enlightened, right? So it is not a problem. Now you may perhaps think the monks don't deal with a lot of pleasant objects, and then you are using, but it is not a problem. The thing is, enjoy your comforts to a level that you feel comfortable, but do not develop greed. Do not develop a lot of attachment. As long as you are not developing a lot of attachment and greed, you are fine. Now, there were some devotees who were even partially enlightened at the place of Sakadaga. They still having their lay life, marital life, but they were partially enlightened people. It doesn't matter. Now, when you become a Sotapanna person, you still have raga, right? You only abandon Sakkaya Ditti, personality belief, Vichikicha, doubts, and then Silabbata Paramasa. Where is your raga? Raga is still there. That means you can definitely become a Sotapanna person. So there is no any problem for a layperson. There is no problem to anybody in this world other than you are an animal. Then you may have a hard time to understand it because your mind is not developed spiritually to that level. So you need to understand there is no problem. Regardless of you are a monk, nun, layperson, you all have the same opportunity. It doesn't matter how many karmas you are having. It does matter how you enjoy them. If you are too much into them, people and things, if you are too much into karmas, that will be a problem. But although you are using karmas with anicca dukkha anatta, you are good. You will be enlightened as soon as you can. Okay, how does intentions play? I guess it is intentions play into this process. A good question. Now, intention is sankappa. Intention can come at the place where you can't handle your fetters. Now, when the internal six sense bases are being attacked by the external sense bases, objects of the senses, if you cannot bring your anicca dukkha anatta understanding, which means the three universal characteristics, that is the point where you may have bad intentions. Because of the bad intentions, you are badly ethicizing that particular experience. That means your intentions will be bad, unwholesome. But if you can ethicize your sense experience once it is formed with the amalgamation of both six internal sense bases plus with the six external sense bases, if you can bring anicca dukkha anatta, then you are creating wholesome intention. So intentions play a bigger role in this process. When we see proliferations as papancha, there is a bias. Is the sensory function connecting to the external stimulation as categorical index, where no engagement of mano yet to interpret the inputs? Isn't the ayatana really the view we are clinging to by memory and habitual tendency? Yes, that is true. That is why I told you at the beginning, Indriyas are common to everyone, even to an arahant. But ayatanas, sense bases, are not common to arahants. When you become an arahant, you are not developing your ayatanas because you don't have ayatanas. You are not, because ayatanas are pretty much packed full of defilements, actually. If you keep sense faculties, it's okay. That's why in the Bodhipakkhya Dhammas, 37 Bodhipakkhya enlightening factors, you don't see ayatanas. You only see sense faculties. Why is it? Sense faculties are common. But if you develop sense faculties into defilements, you will have ayatana. So I would say ayatana and ayatanas are what we are using to cling to things. So if you can take care of your ayatanas as a neutral place, with upekka, then you are good. Okay, Dhamma folks, I think we are almost at the place to wrap this up. Thank you, everyone. So let's share all the good karmas with the deities and the departed relatives. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May all the good karmas we've been accumulating in all these ways be shared by all the departed relatives who passed away in the name of all of us. May they be happy and peaceful. May they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idammi ñāti nang hotu, sukhita hontu ñātayo, idammi ñāti nang hotu, sukhita hontu ñātayo, idammi ñāti nang hotu, sukhita hontu ñātayo. Also, let's share all the good karmas with the deities, the devas, and the nagas. May all the powerful deities, all the deities and the nagas share all these good karmas. May they be happy and peaceful. May they protect all of you. Bless all of you for good health, quality of life, and all the prosperity. May all the deities and nagas also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ettavata cha amihi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya akasattha cha bummattha deva naga mahittika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu lokasasanang chirang rakkantu desanang chirang rakkantu mang paranti. Before I wrap this up, I want to sort of summarize. Today we did the fifth nidana called by saḷāyatana. So saḷāyatana is the first, I would say, the fundamental appearance of your sense faculties. But they are not being taken as sense faculties. They are being taken as 6 sense bases. The other 6 external sense bases are part of it. They are included in the 6 sense bases. So here we have a very important thing to understand, because this is the place where we are having the channels to experience our sensory experience, right? So Buddha always asks us to bring anicca dukkha anatta perspective to every sensory experience. What is the point that we are, we supposed to bring the anicca dukkha anatta perspective is that once your internal 6 sense bases get mixed up with the external 6 sense bases, that is where we have to bring anicca dukkha anatta. You can also think that all the sense bases, even your internal or external sense base seem to be something that you can, acquire sensory experience. They are also subject to anicca dukkha. So this is what we talk today. So we'll be actually looking at phassa, contact, next Monday. So may all the good karmas we've been accumulating in all these ways be helpful for all of you to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I'm going to be blessing you with a couple more stanzas. Please receive the blessings. Abhivadana silissa nichang vadha pachayino chataru dhamma vaddanti ayuvannu sukhang balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminati saminchatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I hope you take care of you continuously. Be safe and have a good day for those who join from Asia. Have a good evening, those who join from here. Thank you. Have a good night. Have a good day ahead of you.